Hello. Hey, Dr. Wakefield. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm
I'm
doing
good.
so well. Good. So happy to have you here. Hey, everyone. This is Lindsay at VDog. I'm here with my little buddy Piggy. And today we have an awesome Q&A with our vegan veterinarian friend, Dr. Lorelai Wakefield. Thank you so much for
Hi.
joining us here.
Thank you for
Hey.
having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you all a little bit about where Dr. Wakefield is coming from, her background, and we will start there. So, Dr. Wakefield has been an ethical vegan since 1999, is an expert in vegan pet nutrition, and has been featured on Animal Planet and in Cat Fancy magazine. She volunteers with organizations such as Mercy for Animals, and Darwin Animal Doctors and has been working in private practice, emergency, and house call medicine since graduating from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine in 2006. Amazing. And we've been friends here at BDog for Dr. Wakefield for quite a while now. We're so happy to have you. And we work with Dr. Wakefield a lot on customer questions and in a consulting capacity. So when we have tricky questions from customers, she's always there to help us out, which has been so wonderful over the years. So with that, we can jump right into question number one. And it's a classic question. And Dr. Wakefield, the question is, can dogs thrive on a vegan diet? And how and why? Tell us more.
I'm sorry. I think I know the question, but can you just repeat it because it froze a bit?
Yes, definitely. So it's probably the question you get the most, and it's, can dogs be vegan? And how and why? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. Dogs can be vegan. So the reason is that even though they are part of the order Carnivora, technically, that's where they're classified, but their bodies are physiologically omnivorous. So that means they're more like us in the way that they digest food. So they're able to digest a variety of proteins and carbohydrates. Um, so for instance, like us, their jaws, they're able to grind food the way we are, which is more of an omnivore body type than it is a carnivorous body type. And they also have a longer digestive tract. So dogs do very well actually on a plant-based diet. They don't need as much protein as people think, and they certainly don't actually need any meat at all. So I've actually seen dogs, some dogs do show improvement when they change to a vegetarian diet. So I've, it's always been nice to see when I've had people try that with their pets because they ethically wanted to change foods and they actually see things like an improvement in their dog's energy level or their coat quality. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of what we've seen here at VDog over the past 15 years is people, they're bringing home this big bag of meat-based dog food and they kind of have this light bulb moment where they're like, do I need to be doing this? Is there another way I can feed my dog that aligns with my ethics? And then like you're saying is not only are they able to align their dog's food with their own ethical choice and their vegan home and their lifestyle, but their dogs gain or lose weight appropriate to their weight maintenance. They get less itchy, they have better digestion. So tons of really great improvements. I'm happy you mentioned that. And then another thing too is that something I always like to mention is that the misconception of dogs being carnivores versus physiologically omnivorous. So that's really important too. That's a really big misconception used in a lot of meat-based brand marketing that dogs are wolves and they're carnivores. So I'm happy you mentioned that too, because that's something that kind of we have to tackle right from the beginning, right? Is that major misconception.
it is. And even though wolves may be their ancestors because they were domesticated and they genetically evolved alongside humans, their bodies actually have adapted to digesting carbohydrates much better than their wolf ancestors. And one other thing I often mention to people when they're concerned about can dogs actually be vegetarian is that in India, where a large portion of the human population is vegetarian and have been for thousands of years, when they've had canine companion animals, they've been feeding them just what they were eating for thousands of years, and they've done well on that diet.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's a population study on that exact topic that talks about it. So that's really important too. Okay, so Question number 2, this comes from our Instagram friend. Their name is Anush Aurora, and they wanted to know, is it easy to switch a dog from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a very good question, Anush. I'd say it's relatively easy. It's just as easy as it is to transition a dog from any single diet to another diet. So I think as far as taste, the dogs seem to like vegetarian diets similarly to the way they enjoy the taste of other meat-based diets. Where I caution people with any sort of diet change in dogs is that if you make a diet change rapidly, like you change it 100% from today to tomorrow to a completely different food, when they've only been eating one specific diet, a lot of dogs with sensitive stomachs will have digestive upset if you make a rapid change like that. Like they could have vomiting or diarrhea, and it's not unexpected when that happens. But if you just do a gradual diet change over a couple of weeks is the ideal period to me. And so say on day 1, you feed 90% of the old diet, 10% new, and then 80-20, and you gradually make that transition. And if they're having any sort of minor digestive upset, you just kind of back off a little bit and restart that transition more gradually. You tend to do really well as far as changing diets when you do it in that slow manner.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what we've seen at VDog too. And we also like to make it really easy when people do switch over to a VDog from a meat-based food. We have the instructions right on the bag, just like you're saying, Dr. Wakefield, is the kind of 7 to 10 day period is the average of people to switch over. And we've seen so much success, and it seems to be very easy transition, just like from one food to the other, like you're saying. So that's really good news, hopefully, for people to hear. If anyone's worried about transition, that's a question that we get a lot. And our reaction is always like, don't stress, it's very simple. And the dogs really love the taste too, especially with VDog. It tastes and smells a lot like fresh peas. So it's really exciting and kind of enticing for them, and pretty different than most foods they've probably tried before as far as meat-based diets go. Okay, we have another question here, and this one has to do with raw meat. So this question is, a lot of people currently feed a raw meat diet to their pet or are curious about switching from a raw meat diet to a vegan diet for their dog. Is a raw meat diet recommended, and is switching to vegan more difficult coming from a raw meat diet?
So there's a few questions there. I would say switching to a plant-based diet for a dog from raw meat isn't necessarily any more challenging than switching from another diet. I would just do that gradual change that I would for any other meat diet recommended. It is a more controversial diet. I think dogs overall do okay on a raw meat diet. I'm not saying, if you feel strongly about that, by all means. But the more of the issue with the raw meat diet is actually a human public health issue. Like immune compromised people and small children have actually ended up in the hospital just because of things like overgrowth of salmonella that the dog can handle in their stomach, but those immune compromised people or young children couldn't. And so it led to some serious illness. And so that's just one of many reasons that I don't recommend it, but that's the major reason that I don't recommend it. But I also just obviously think that a vegetarian diet, a plant-based diet, is healthier for dogs. And there are just some concerns generally about risks of a raw meat diet. So I think when people think about raw food diets, we know or hear, okay, raw food has the enzymes whole. They haven't been destroyed by cooking. And so that's a big reason to do a raw food diet. So what I often will recommend is go ahead and give a regular, well-balanced diet like VDog, where you know your dog's getting all the nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that they need. And then you can add toppings like slices of carrots or green beans or cucumbers, bananas, that sort of thing, so that you're adding some healthy nutrients and some raw ingredients, but that they're having a complete balanced diet and it's very safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking now, we do have a blog post that Dr. Wakefield helped us with about transitioning from a raw meat diet to a plant-based diet or directly to VDOG. So we do have that on our website if you search raw meat. So that should come up too. So that's hopefully we'll elaborate a little bit as well. But thank you. I think that's really interesting. We also don't think about the kind of human element of something like this often because we're so focused on our dogs and there's so much to learn and research. So that's really good to know. Okay, and we have another question here. It is, how do you make sure the vegan diet you're feeding to your dog is complete and balanced? And do vegan dogs need supplements? I think you froze for a second there.
Oh, would you mind repeating the second half of that?
Sure, yes. So the second part was, do dogs need supplements? Vegan dogs.
Okay, so so in order to make sure the vegan diet you're feeding your dog is complete and balanced, you just want to make sure that the company is following AAFCO standards, which are nutrient standards in the veterinary world. And so as long as you're feeding a commercially prepared food that is balanced, you probably don't need to feed them any supplements, actually. So if you're home cooking a lot of their food, you would want to use a supplement and recipes. And some people will other meals and that sort of thing. So if that's the case, you would want to have a supplement. But if you're just giving a balanced diet like VDOG, you don't actually need to supplement them. What I'll often recommend is just individual supplementation for dogs, just like we do for ourselves. So for instance, if our dog is older and having some joint or mobility issues or cognitive issues, I'll recommend adding some omega fatty acids, like a small amount of Udo's oil, or more joint supplements like glucosamine.
Mm-hmm. Kind of based on their individual
general health. Yes. It's complete and balanced already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. And it's really important. So at VDOG, we have the AAFCO statement on our bags, and we do third-party nutritional quality testing. So when looking for any sort of food, whether it's vegan or not, like you're saying, Dr. Wakefield, it's important to kind of make sure the company does have those standards. And then related to home cooking, we do have a lot of customers who will add kind of fresh or home-cooked food kind of as a kibble topper. So that's a good way to get the kibble kind of freshened up if you feel passionate about adding those whole foods to your dog's diet. So that's absolutely totally okay. And then the kibble kind of provides this complete and balanced kind of base for the meal. So that's also an option.
Exactly. And so I'll tell people, so let's at least just keep, if we're adding toppings, to less than 20% of the diet. If all of a sudden the other toppings or home cooked food is going to be more than 20%, then at that point I would add a supplement just to be on the safe side.
Mm-hmm. That's really good to know, the kind of ratio there. That's important. Okay, great. Alrighty. So the next question is, I think, one a lot of our customers deal with and maybe struggle with a little bit. And this is from our Instagram friend called Vegan Fundamentalist. And they asked, how do I get my vet to understand that vegan food is healthy for my dog? We hear this a lot.
That is challenging because I graduated vet school in 2006, so things may have changed since I've been there, but I don't think it's changed that much. And at the time that I graduated, there really wasn't any talk in school about feeding pets a vegetarian diet or companion animals a vegetarian diet. So since then, and even before then, there have been studies, and there's been more and more published scientific peer-reviewed studies about animals eating plant-based diets safely. So there has definitely been more acceptance in the veterinary field as we've proven scientifically beyond a doubt that these diets can be safe, especially vegetarian diets in dogs. It's safe. They're omnivores. It's totally fine as long as it's nutritionally balanced, just like any meat-based food that you would want to be nutritionally balanced. Mm-hmm. So how do you get your vet to accept that if they're unaccepting of that? You know, that's like, in some cases that could be like trying to change someone's opinion of humans being vegan, for instance, which if you're vegan, you know that some people are just never going to agree that that's an okay, safe diet for people. So sometimes it's just a point of contention, and it helps just to find a veterinarian who is open-minded, even if they don't necessarily recommend it, but that they can see that it's nutritionally balanced diet, and that they can help guide you in what's a safe diet for your companion animal. So I've often found, I mean, in major cities, it's a lot easier. If you're out in a small town, it might be harder to find that. I also want to say that it's really important the food that you're feeding your pet, because I know some people get nervous about saying what the diet is, and that's when people come to me, whether they're feeding their pet a raw food diet or some different kind of home cooked diet, or even in what you're feeding your pet. It helps us to guide you in what's, and we can adjust that diet, tweak it if need be, add supplements if necessary. But basically, the most important thing is to look for a veterinarian who's open-minded. And if they're not, it might be time to look for someone who is. Maybe it's another vet at that same practice, hopefully.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And you're right about sometimes it's really hard to change people's opinions. And it seems like the world is progressing as far as information and knowledge with veganism for humans. But with the vegan dog space, we're working on more research, whether it's here at VDog or elsewhere. So hopefully with more scientific data will come more acceptance of this diet. So we're definitely working on that. A couple of things to add. We have a veterinarian's page on the VDog website, which Dr. Wakefield is on. On there, there's a handy dandy downloadable guide that you can bring to your veterinarian that explains what VDog is about, that it's nutritionally balanced. It gives some nutritional data on there. So that could be really good to kind of either take it on your phone and bring it up to the vet, depending on the kind of friendship you have with the vet or relationship, or you can kind of just print it out, bring it as a little handout if you want a little bit of extra information. Another route to take that a lot of our customers take is, you know, sometimes you can mention the diet on the intake form and not, you know, discuss the whole big topic of veganism right up front. But if you're getting a blood panel, just kind of look at the data. Like if your dog is healthy, they're shiny, they're energetic, they have great digestion, they're, you know, bouncing off the walls in a good way, and they're looking really great, and their blood tests come back excellent, there's really nothing to worry about. I mean, and that's kind of what you can put in the forefront of the conversation with the vet. You know, all of his or her blood tests come back perfect. You know, look at them, they're energetic, they're a senior dog, and they're running up the stairs, and they've been on VDog for 5 years or something like that. So kind of really remaining confident in your dog's health, and in combination with finding the right vet, I think that's really the best way to do it. So yeah, thank you for that bit of advice, Dr. Wakefield. And we have another question here that's a little bit more of a specific one, but I wanted to mention it because I think it's something that a lot of people do struggle with and try to figure out how to understand. So our Instagram friend, Chrissy Yetman, she is asking us how to figure out the right vegan food for her dog with a super sensitive tummy. She says that they've changed his diet over the years, and he's currently on a prescription hydrolyzed chicken protein formula. So do you have any advice for really sensitive dogs? And I know a lot of people have tried everything under the sun for their dog. A lot of people put their dogs on these prescription foods. So can you speak to your experience with sensitive dogs and what you recommend specifically under the umbrella of a plant-based diet?
Yes, that is definitely a tricky issue if it's one that your dog has. And sometimes it's a concern that there's a food allergy that's causing skin inflammation or ear irritation. And sometimes it's concerned that the food allergy is causing digestive upset and sensitive stomach and GI signs like vomiting and diarrhea. One proven way to sort it out, and that's with an elimination diet. That they do in people too. So the way we recommend it in dogs typically is you do a 6-week, very strict elimination diet where they're really only getting one protein source and 1 or 2 hypoallergenic carbohydrate sources, and nothing else. Like if they're on a heartworm chew, it might have beef flavor in it, so you want to make sure that that's unflavored and that their toothpaste isn't chicken flavored, and no treats. It just has to be really strict for 6 weeks. And then you see at the end of that 6-week time, has the digestive upset cleared, has the skin issue cleared, or ear issue. If that issue is still there, it means that it's probably not dietary related. For instance, a lot of skin and ear issues are more like environmental pollen mold type allergies that are causing it. So it's actually much easier to deal with that than it is to deal with a food allergy. Now, if it does clear up, that's good too. And then what you do to figure out what they're allergic to is gradually add in an ingredient at a time, one every 1 to 2 weeks. Because if you add too many back at once, you're not going to be sure which one it is. But I will say the most common food allergies in dogs are actually meat proteins. So like chicken and beef are just very common allergies. Carbohydrate food allergies are much less common in dogs. So that's one reason that plant-based diets like VDOG are actually really hypoallergenic for many dogs having skin issues or inflammation of the gut causing GI issues. They tend to do much better on a diet like VDOG because it's so hypoallergenic, so very low allergen diet. If her dog in the questioner's case is still having issues to the point that they need to do the prescription diet that's hydrolyzed chicken protein, they had a vegetarian prescription diet that was their hypoallergenic diet. And the reason that the vegetarian diet is considered hypoallergenic is because it doesn't contain those animal proteins that so many dogs do have allergies to. So, and if she's still having issues, I would consider seeing a veterinary nutritionist and going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that we see so commonly, and we do have a whole section on our VDOG website under our testimonials titled Allergies, where you can read tons of like incredible anecdotal stories about dogs recovering for anyone watching this who's interested. But what Dr. Wakefield, what you said is so important, what are the top allergens in dogs? And those are animal proteins. There was a study done a few years ago that showed it was beef, chicken, dairy, and eggs were far ahead of any sort of non-animal based product. So that study is also on our website if you search around for it a little bit in the search bar there. But we see this so often. Dogs are just so itchy, and we see them really heal when they come over to the plant-based diet. So it makes us so happy because that's uncomfortable. And having tummy aches all the time, being itchy, that's just no fun. And then also your dog might keep you up at night, so then it kind of transfers over to your well-being as a dog mom or dad as well. So we want to help everyone heal up from that. And then additionally, it's kind of like it goes back to like the educational component where we want people to feel super confident that not only is this food doesn't contain corn, soy, wheat, or gluten ingredients, it's super nourishing and it's complete and balanced. So it's kind of the whole package for people to feel really good, and then their dogs feel really, really good as well. So the allergy thing is something important. Anyone watching this, reach out to us. We have tons of information on that, and we're happy to share more research and information as well. So we have a few more minutes here, and I think we'll touch on a couple more questions. We have sort of a couple bonus questions here. And this is someone I see some people are asking in the comments, so I'll bring it up here, and it's about puppies. So Dr. Wakefield, VDOG right now is formulated for dogs 1 year and up as a complete and balanced AFCO formula. So we have a lot of information on our website that you've helped us with as well about how to feed puppies a vegan diet. So could you touch on that a little bit and answer what you would recommend to someone who's looking to either feed VDOG to their puppy and supplement it, or feed some sort of plant-based diet to their dog that's under a year old?
Absolutely. So a lot of dog foods are actually made for dogs of technically all life stages. But even when it says all life stages, it's not necessarily always the best puppy food. So what I recommend is, because most foods are all life stages, and VDOG is recommended for dogs over a year, but that doesn't mean that you can't give it to puppies. I recommend giving some additional supplements. That is one case where I would supplement it. You could do supplements at home like Vegapop and VDOG, and the Vegapop would come with recipes to use and mix that together. And the difference between a puppy diet and an adult dog diet isn't that much, but it's just some differences in mineral content and protein content. And one big thing is just that they're growing and they need more calories. So you just want to feed them a little bit more, especially until they're spayed or neutered. Once they're spayed or neutered, then their calorie needs drop to more of a normal adult level. So it's something that I would talk to your vet about. And like I said, you can incorporate VDOG as part of the puppy food, but I would just go ahead and supplement it just to be on the safe side. Honestly, it's probably fine, but that's just been my recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we say too. And we have a whole puppy section under the FAQ section of our website. So you can check out more information there, kind of understand what to add if you are feeding it to a dog under a year. And we also work with a rescue that feeds their dog over in Colorado, I believe, and she's been feeding her dog and nursing mama's VDOG for, oh my gosh, really long time, years and years and years, and they've all grown up to be really healthy, muscular pups, and they've gone off to their rescue home. So that's always really wonderful to think about too. Okay, so we have one more question, and this is kind of a fun one, and this is what one of our Instagram friends asked, and Lou said, any advice for future vets, particularly in dealing with non-vegan coworkers and patients? I know this is a bit of a hard one, but
for future vets. Yeah, I have to say that when I actually started vet school, when I got into vet school, one of my closest friends, who was like the first vegan I knew, but anyway, she said, "Well, you didn't tell them you're vegan, did you?" And I was thinking, what? Why would that be a problem? Wouldn't they want me to? She said, no. I mean, at least back then it was different. Now there's way more vegetarian and vegan veterinarians. But I think it's just part of the culture of and the history of veterinary medicine, being that it kind of came about from taking care of people's horses and then taking care of their livestock. And so more recently, it's a companion animal thing, but that's not really where it came from historically. And so a lot of older school vets, or just people who are more involved in the livestock veterinary medicine, don't agree with people being vegan in general, and certainly don't understand veterinarians being vegan. But when I explain it to non-veterinary people, they seem to get it. Oh, of course, you don't want to eat your patients. That makes sense. Like, I totally get why you're vegan. But I will say, when I was in school, I think about a third of my class was vegetarian, which is really heartening. And now we're seeing more vegan veterinarians, a lot more vegetarian veterinarians. So it's certainly way more accepted. When I started working back in the day at the ASPCA, they would have to get like special food for me at events, at work events. But then gradually more and more people there were vegan, and now I think that's all. So there's been a lot of positive change, but still some people in the industry haven't progressed or don't understand that, or if their clientele are, you know, ranchers or something, they are just on a whole different trajectory. So the way I've handled it at work is just, I'm not, I don't think, a preachy vegan. I'm just the person. People see me, they know I'm vegan because they see what I eat and people ask about it. And I think they can see that I'm a healthy weight and I'm a healthy person. And it's just the way I live my life. And so sometimes for me, that's been a good way to positively influence people without like being pushy, because sometimes obviously people react negatively to that. And then as far as if they ask me about vegetarian companion animals, you know, if they ask me about comes in and they're vegan and they have a question about their dog being vegan, then the staff directs them my way because they know I can answer the questions about that. And that, of course, I think it's fine if they want their dogs to be vegetarian, and I think it's great. So that's how I've handled it. Basically, I believe what I believe. Other people are going to believe what they believe, but I think it's just you live your life in a good way, and people see the positive effects of that, and sometimes that's a positive influence.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, kind of shining your light and being the source of information and positivity if people want to learn from you, and kind of being really positive about it and kind of standing strong with your own values, regardless of what the people around you might say or think. And I know that can be challenging. You know, being vegan, as humans, we go through these challenges too. So it's really interesting to explore the intricacies and interconnectedness of, you know, going to the dog park, and if your dog's wearing their vegan bandana, kind of interacting with people and kind of understanding and using those as learning experiences about how to interact with people, not just like as vegan humans, but also having vegan dogs, and it being this like positive, vibrant, exciting, nutritious, healthy thing, and kind of really always positioning ourselves that way. That's what we're all about at Dog. It's being positive and kind, because that's what this diet is all about. So that's the last question. I think that was an amazing end to the Q&A, and I saw there's lots more comments over in the comment section. So we'd love to do another one of these. We'll keep you all posted. Thank you so much, Dr. Wakefield. I think this has been so informative, and I think our friends and customers will really enjoy watching it and learning from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I just want to say too, like, B-Dog's just a really responsible company, and I've dealt with some different companies, and I know you guys just really do your research and really care about the animals. I think it's clear that you guys care about animal business, but you guys just do a really responsible and respectful job.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And we're all vegans here. We're obsessed with animals, obsessed with our dogs. So that's really heartening to hear that that's something that you've felt from coming from us. So thank you so much. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks.